And we should be live.
All right.
Awesome.
So, looks like we are. Cool. It's up. Welcome back, world. Intentional Academy Live here. This is a special episode. We're going to just show you our meeting. So, we've missed you. It's been a nice month.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yep, 2018.
Mm-hmm. 2018. Remember 2000?
Ugh.
2000.
Holy smokes, I do. I do. I remember thinking that the power is going to go out, all that kind of stuff.
I was on the beat.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. All right, Justin, where were you?
What, in the year 2000?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2000.
Oh my gosh, I don't even remember. It's like high school, man.
You don't remember what you were doing when everybody thought things were going to explode?
I'm lame. I never really did New Year's and things. I was probably asleep.
So today's different. We're not going to follow the big fancy format and all of this. It's the week before the semester starts, and I think it's also the first full work week of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that means this is the week to get ready to do a lot of stuff, but not actually do it. I'm
Prep
at
work.
work, I'm doing prep work, I'm doing, class planning and all that kind of stuff. And I thought it would be a good time for us to just have a conversation and, do some planning for the Intentional Academy. What are we going to do with this thing? Where are we headed? Let's reevaluate what we've done so far and just kind of see where we end up.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think we all needed a little bit of kickstart.
We're still out of our cookie comas.
Oh my
trying to
gosh.
come up.
3 weeks
Right.
off of work and I just got so lethargic. It's not even funny.
Did you eat a lot of food?
Food, Netflix,
Mm. Dude, Netflix is coming out with so many originals.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one after the other. It's crazy.
I saved Punisher for the break. It was worth.
Oh, nice.
Binge
Yeah.
watch.
We're a couple behind on the Marvel things on Netflix. We got to catch up there.
Yeah. Well, I hope everybody had a good break.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's time to kick
Um,
2018 in the face.
Yeah, right. So the rest has happened, and it's a little hard to bounce back from it, which I think we're all experiencing this week.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest problem I'm having is at work. I'm still dealing with last semester. So unlike students who, you hit your last final, it's in the books, you go relax, and you're
Start
done.
fresh. Mm.
I walked into work yesterday morning, first day in 2018, with 319 unread emails, all the stacks of things that I had left on my desk, overflowing drawers of old exams and little notes and pieces of paper and things to do that I just ran away from at the end of last semester.
The semester's over.
And so it's not firefighting, but I'm still doing cleanup from last semester. And
That's hard.
so it's been funny, right? My plan this week for Intentional Academy was to give a couple of small to-do items every day
Okay.
to get yourself ready for 2018. And it was things like planning your time and doing the time budget and rethinking all your commitments, all these things that we talk about
Sure.
regularly on the Intentional Academy. And of course, I'm still in step 1 from yesterday, which was clean up. So,
Yeah, so you haven't had time in your budget to create your time budget.
ooh,
Pretty sure the time budget went out the window when the pajamas came on and the Star Wars began.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that happened
Yeah.
over break too.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, lots of good stuff.
pivotal moment in my life. I'm still scared to talk about it for fear of spoilers. Is it? Are we far enough in that we're allowed to talk about it?
Everybody dies. Spoiler alert.
Well, that's not it. Come on now. At least the
It's
person
not
who
the
killed
end.
at
Spoiler.
least the person who killed them all stayed alive,
There
right?
you go. There you go.
Murder-suicide situation.
Apparently.
Man, this just got
Anyway, time budget's difficult to do when you're relaxing. You don't exactly
so.
budget your bake cookie time and
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things I was going to talk about today was how to do a time budget, except I'm still not to the bottom of the 319 email. And so I came up with a new idea. This is brand new thinking.
Okay.
I'm considering starting to treat my email like I treat Twitter. There's a constant stream, and every once in a while, I'm just going to dip in and respond to a couple of them and let the rest of them go by.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I feel like, well, if it's important enough, they'll probably email you again or talk to you in person. I don't like email. That's
Oh, I hate email. I do phone calls at work if I can. I had 227 emails when I got in, but I was able to delete 70% of them because they were just
Yeah.
government bloat spam.
Goodness. Well, I'm down to like 180 now. So, anyways, we'll get there. The point is, though, the stuff that we talk about here, it's real. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's mess free. And I think that it's easy for people, when all we do is show the little minute and a half clip or the pre-prepared slides on the Intentional 101 class and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, we're painting the picture of everything going right.
well, yeah.
And I'm not quite where I want to be, but I'm still not in a place of stress. The mindset, the basic tactics are still there and they're working very well. But I think that it's important for people to know that this is messy. And so, for example, I was going to post 4 to-do items today for people who were trying to get their prep week done.
Okay.
After I got the first one posted, somebody walked through my office door. And the next time I looked up, it was 5 o'clock and I was on the train. And so the other 3 tasks, you're just going to have to wait and watch me do them tomorrow, I guess.
So do you time budget for unexpected interruptions?
In a normal world, yes.
What does that mean?
Well, in the budget, there's flex time. It's just you don't know when that flex time is going to occur.
Like I said, again, in a normal world, yeah. As everybody is aware, right now, goal number 1 is kill student loans. And the way that I kill student loans is if it pays, I say yes. And so, for example, my load last semester was 1.5 times the standard load.
Gotcha.
When you try to do that and still work reasonable enough hours to maintain family and life balance and, I don't know, post stuff for Intentional Academy, you put all that together and the answer is right now, no. I have no room for spontaneity. And my goal is, as the student loans go away, to just stop saying yes to some of that stuff and increase the white space gaps between the different boxes in my schedule.
Okay.
So
Intentional Academy.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of things. We've kind of gone in a couple different directions.
I think it'd be cool for one of you guys to help me recap it.
Okay.
What's the list? What have we done? We started Intentional Academy. The first time it was called that was spring break 2017. So not quite a year.
You wrote your manifesto 15-page. It wasn't the manifesto, but it was the 15-page kind of like a small book, but it wasn't a book.
Yeah, it was like a miniature.
It was called Break Free.
Yeah.
Yep.
Miniature little book to kind of get things rolling.
Which, by the way, has been downloaded a couple hundred times now, so that's pretty cool.
Awesome. So it was like sort of a little snippet of tips and organization.
Yeah.
Then you started your daily morning videos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Blog posts.
Blog posts, yeah.
Blogs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that kind of hit a groove this summer, I think, is when it really got super regular, and it was every day there was a blog post and a video. And I've pretty much done that from then until now with a few break exceptions.
Sure.
But that's kind of what we've done.
So that was mostly to get the word out and get people interested in the things that you're trying to share, right?
Yeah, well, and practice the language.
Sure.
I learned how to talk about this stuff by talking about it.
Yeah.
Yep. And getting comfortable.
Yeah.
In front of you too.
Wanted to make some sort of a product out of all of the talk. So you did the class.
That's right. Intentional 101, 6-week class ended up turning into 7 because they wanted a bonus week on just what we were up to business-wise.
I think that's a really good thing to keep doing as a product potentially, but it's very time consuming because you're
Well, the
actually
initial was pretty, like the initial creating of all of the slides and and how you wanted to present the information. So I would think the refining wouldn't be as labor intensive.
No, but you still have to make a commitment to teach the
Yes.
class as well.
Yes.
Well, at least in the
So-
format that we did, which was live.
Yeah, doing the live class.
If
If we were
we,
to do that again, we have hopefully we'll keep being able to do these kinds of videos and podcasts and meetings weekly to let everybody see what we're doing and
Right.
have those discussions. But then if you're also teaching a class, that's another night. So
Yeah.
trying to figure out if that's a good product to keep having that format
Right.
anyway.
well, I think the 101 class went really well. It definitely helped really to formalize a lot of the talk
Mhm.
on the topics that we cover.
Mhm.
The one big challenge that it has is that it required a 7-week commitment from the customer.
Mhm.
And so it was time consuming for me, but it was just as time consuming for them. And I think there might be a need for something that is in between there.
Okay.
Either would you say like a pre-recording, or would you say some sort of physical media, like a book or an ebook?
I mean, ultimately, yeah, I think we can definitely go in the book direction, and ebooks and physical books are definitely something that'll happen in the future. But even those, it requires commitment. I managed to get through one nonfiction book a month, and I'm a little weird in reading that much from the people that I talk to.
I think the workbook thing would be good.
That's one of the ideas, definitely. If we're brainstorming ideas, I think it'd be neat to create some sort of a workbook or a journal with prompts where it's like, here's a daily thing to do, and if you just dip in and do this 15-minute task every day, you'll look up a year from now and have made some real progress. And
The
that
workbook could work with a pre-recording, and
Yeah.
so
Yes.
that way you stay kind of
Absolutely.
plugged in with the video as you watch it.
right.
And I
Yes.
definitely know that, I mean, think about it, especially this generation, everything is so fast
Mhm.
and short and immediate. I mean,
Mhm.
all of our social media just gets shorter and shorter.
One of the things,
Instagram. like,
one of
Yeah,
the assignments,
Facebook is it's the media itself is that was everybody, and now everybody's needs even quicker, even shorter. So you have Twitter, like you said, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Like
my cousin did this app that was like daily or weekly prompts, and it's literally like flashes of pictures from like a week. It's like bam, 30 seconds.
Mhm.
So
yeah,
anyway, short attention span.
that and this is real. I mean, people are paying serious dollars have short attention spans. The class that I taught last semester
Mhm.
had a component that was watch a 5-hour collection of videos and learn a
Okay.
programming language, and they were supposed to do that over 3 weeks.
Okay.
And I had like a 17% completion rate to get people to watch a
Sitting
5-hour.
down and trying to just watch a video about somebody trying to just drone on about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I think part of it is content, but part of it is also just the way that we do our attention.
Mhm.
We like things in digestible chunks, and that makes sense because Intentional 101 was cool, but if you take any 1 hour of Intentional 101, that might as well have been an hour worth of the morning rants that I do.
yes.
That is a lot to change in your life.
Yeah.
If you're not doing any of those things and then you get fire hosed with that, that's a lot.
It is. It's a
complete lifestyle.
fundamental. Yeah, it's a fundamental transformation of how you think
Right.
and work.
Which is an awesome thing to lead people to, but I think it happens in baby steps, which makes me think that ultimately the best thing for a student who wanted to join this might be something where it is in smaller chunks. Maybe it's a subscription. Maybe it's something you dial into, but not for an hour every week for 7 weeks, but maybe more like 5 minutes a day, or I don't know. We'll have to keep thinking on that. format wise.
Well, somebody that's watching us just asked if we have any lessons learned so far as
great.
as this has grown in popularity.
I think the number one lesson that I've learned so far is if you're thinking about doing something like this, just start doing it.
That's a good
Mhm.
lesson. Another
The
lesson
hardest
oh,
the
sorry,
hardest
yeah.
part for me was that's okay. The hardest part for me, honestly, was just actually getting in front of a camera and learning how to talk and put that on the internet. Like not only the logistics of it, but getting used to that. I mean, I was so nervous, so awkward, so scared the first time that I pointed that camera at myself, and then to go from there to feeling comfortable. The only answer is practice it. And what I found along the way was people were really gracious with that, and most of the things that I did, people felt a lot better about than I did.
Mm.
So it was a very encouraging process for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to see that we're still trying to figure out a direction on how to reach people and the best way to get this information to people, different mediums. And so, like you said, not waiting until you have it all organized, not waiting to have like the perfect business plan and the perfect product list and all this kind of stuff, because it's just,
Which I
don't know.
think that's a really cool way of putting it. It takes us back to the core thing that we did say when we first started all of this, which was let's help people.
Mhm.
And if we can find a way to support ourselves by helping people in the future, then let's go there.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that actually, Justin, I didn't want to cut you off. I know you had something. Don't forget about it. But this segued really good in the second big lesson because I only had two. And that was as you get excited, there's kind of two schools of thought here. One is hurry up and put something on the market and make some money, and the other is slow down.
Mm.
And I kept trying to be the hurry up, and I'm so glad that I had you guys telling me to slow down because I think perception is really important. And if you try to go too quick too soon, you could accidentally appear like you're after money, like you're being sleazy, like your motive isn't pure.
Sure.
And I have a feeling that would have damaged, even though it's not true, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know one or the other, but I definitely feel like it was not necessary anyhow.
I'm glad we didn't yet.
Yeah.
I'm excited about this year. If I had to say I have one goal, it's offer something for sale and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right. That's my goal for this year with the Intentional Academy. And I think we've got some ways we can do that. But, in a way that really works for people. And I think anything that we would have offered up till this point anyhow would have been really half-baked.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
sorry,
I mean, we're still trying to figure out our identity. We're still trying to figure out exactly our target audience. Because we started off, we've started looking at professional and student because I mean, I still view a student as a professional. Their job is to go and learn. I mean, all professionals are learning. I have a requirement at my job that I have to have a continuous learning. Every 2 years, I have to have 80 hours of some sort of classes. So I think one of the lessons learned for us, and it kind of ties into what you were saying, is don't try to do too much. Try to figure like one thing out, perfect it, and see how that evolves.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that we've started doing well, and we got to get back into it. Now it's 2018. Is the show? We call it a podcast. Logistically, we still not really sure how to make it said podcast.
We'll get there.
So it's like a live cast.
Yeah.
But we went from daily YouTubes to compiling YouTubes to make it to into lists for specific purposes, and then we talked about writing books, and we did the class, and it's a lot of stuff, and we're slowly figuring out where we want to take it and how to get involved. I mean, I think this is the first time, other than people pointing out that I've messed up on an audio or something that somebody's actually had feedback during our live broadcast. So
Right.
getting involvement, I think that's where like if we were to do the class again and things like that, that's where you would differ from a book or pre-recording, is we could address live concerns, like have live involvement. I feel like that would be really beneficial, even during the weekly, our weekly show.
Right.
Because right now, when we have questions, we're pulling them from certain places that they're posted.
Mm-hmm.
So involvement from the audience would be incredible.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something we need to aim at better. And honestly, I think where we're going to find that is by learning how to listen better. I think we've gotten honestly, I think we've gotten pretty good at putting new content out there, saying what we think, telling people what we think they should do.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not really having a conversation, even though there is one already happening. And so one of my big goals this year is to learn how to actually join conversations that are happening, open conversations on things like social media. Because just by interacting with people, I think what we'll do is we'll gain a lot of equity in relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll learn about their needs. And yeah, sure, a fraction of those people are going to say, hey, what's that link in their bio? And the next thing
Sure.
you now have really engaged followers that are watching this stuff.
Actually, I had a coworker need to get a hold of me yesterday because I was supposed to be going on a trip for a meeting today, and it was canceled. And his phone had just been reset, so he didn't have my contact anymore. And he was pointed from another coworker to our page to
No
find
kidding.
there because he didn't have me on Facebook or anything. But the other coworker said, "Oh, he's check out Intentional Academy. Oh, he's right there. There you go." And he actually connected with me on Messenger. So I mean,
Awesome.
I've heard people. I was in a winery, and I heard a guy talking to somebody about how he wanted to move somewhere and he had these aspirations to do different stuff. And I just approached him and I said, "Why don't you do it?" And we had a conversation. He was just like, "Wow, I never thought of it that way." After we discussed, what really is involved, which there really wasn't that much.
Right.
Yeah.
So just interacting in real life, I mean, that would have been an instance where it would have been great if we could have recorded it, or if I would have thought about recording it.
Sure.
That's definitely something that we've numerous times Tony has had random short conversations with people, and he's like, "Dang it, I should have recorded that."
And by the way,
after the fact.
one of the lessons I learned from that is to start asking if I can record things before I start having conversations.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the answer people give is yes. And so I've got several hours of recordings now. I don't know what to do with them, but someday when we have a podcast, we'll be able to splice some of that stuff in. There's some cool content. I think if we had to summarize all of this, we have actually lived true to our thing, which is help people, and then the rest will figure itself out. And I still believe that if we continue down that path, that we're gonna end up somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that
was very John Madden of you.
Yeah. The team that scores most points, they're gonna win the game.
Here's the guy when he runs, he goes faster.
But I think we have a fundamental sales problem that is part of why we've had trouble landing this.
Okay.
I think that in order to get a current student to buy a product from us, we have a lot of convincing to do. We have to convince the student that there's an issue that we can solve. So that's like 2 right there, right? 1, you have a problem. 2, we can solve it. Then
First
we have
step is to admit.
Yeah, right.
Admit you have a problem.
Yeah.
But then you also have to convince these people that they can afford to spend the money on it.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
I think you can sum that up in 2 things, Tony. So 1, we have a marketing problem. But that marketing problem stems from, what are we selling? What specifically are we selling?
I mean, we're still trying to figure it out.
Exactly. So we have concepts, we have ideas, we have advice.
And I
what
think
is
the reason that we've thrashed as to what are we selling is that we haven't actually identified the person we're trying to sell it to. So here's my big idea.
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of time in the car the last couple of weeks just thinking on that particular concept, trying to come up with an idea. And this is going to be very John Madden again. You ready for this?
Yes.
We should make products and sell them to people who have money.
I mean, that.
But let me tell you what I really mean by that.
Yeah.
Imagine going after institutions as opposed to individual students. Now what we've done is continued to offer a thing that benefits students, but we've removed the direct cost. You know,
Somewhere they can get it for free.
a career center at a university,
Mm-hmm.
if we developed a curriculum for them and you sold that as some sort of a recurring annual license for a number of student seats,
Mm-hmm.
things like that, what you're talking about now is a lot easier sale because you're helping somebody do their job.
Mm-hmm.
Their job is to do it. You just mentioned, Justin, that you have to do a certain number of recurring ed hours every year or whatever,
2 years, yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Why aren't we talking to why aren't we one of the vendors for civil servants who need that?
There's a lot of contracted companies that I just signed up. I don't know if I'll get it for a review of agile software development
Right.
because I only
And
got
so you can see what I'm saying here, right? Like if you get on that list, now what you're doing is, and I don't think you're writing the check for that class, right?
no.
Yeah. And yet you benefit from it. The organization that you work with benefits from it because they've got a better functioning employee or however you want to put that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody wins in this case. I don't know. I feel like it's a lower barrier. And so I kind of wanted to see what you guys thought of that.
It would be a different method of teaching because you would be developing longer lectures. You know what I'm saying? Instead of 7 weeks, you have 7 hours, and you have 1 day to teach it all. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Yeah, but this could be pre-recorded. This could be asynchronous content. It could be workbooks. It could be guidebooks. It could be a small group activity. We could create one-on-one career counselor materials. I see a lot of different places that you could go with that, and the numbers just become a lot simpler, right? Imagine there are 4,000 four-year schools in America.
Okay.
It'd be a pretty small market percentage to get a dozen of those schools to start offering our curriculum in their career center. And anybody who's been to a college career center knows that most of what you get out of those things right now, you can find on Google. The kind of advice that you get out of there is start your resume bullets with an action verb, right? Which, if you've never heard that before, it's really good advice. But it's also the same advice that people were given when they were writing their resumes on typewriters.
Yes.
And I think things have changed a little since then.
You might get one more online tool for them to post your resume on.
Yeah.
I know I got cold called in school for an internship one time. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Ultimately, there's lots of places you could go because you could still do things like a recruiting service where companies could now say, well, we'd like access to your pool of people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I
and now
still
once
don't
again,
want to. I don't want to forget about the resume scrutiny too, like the.
Well, and that's the beauty, right? At different levels, you get you can tier this now, and it can start as a word that I've seen a lot lately is freemium. That's how all these apps work. There's a free baseline thing, and then you can pay to unlock extra features.
Gotcha.
Imagine a multi-tiered version of that takes you from our daily videos to somebody who knows what the heck they're talking about actually going back and forth and having a conversation with you about your resume and helping you get set up on all these things. Long term, one of the big things we talk about is creating a social presence. Wouldn't it be neat if we had a social marketing team whose job it was to help people build their personal brands?
Yeah.
I'm talking years now, but
I know.
I mean, yeah.
Sorry. It's like massive brainstorming right now, and I'm
Yeah.
on complete overload. And I, personality-wise, want to jot down action items on what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
You want near term. What are we doing for next week?
And like, in the clouds.
Now, where could we end up in 10 years?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I also feel like we're back into the conversation that I have with you repeatedly, which is going in multiple directions. And I think if the issue is creating a target audience, if that's what you feel is relevant, then we need to stick with the target audience and just go with it and see where that leads us. And if it's not where we want to go,
I think what's happening is we want to continue our podcasting, our live streaming, our message transmission, but at the same time we need to physically develop something that we could package. Like
we need to.
And the show could turn into something itself as well, depending if we could get an audience. But
yeah, I guess all I'm trying to get at right now is if we were aiming in that direction, I think what we do now doesn't change all that much, but there will be subtleties to it. Because what we would want to do to make that happen is we would continue to try and help students so that they're asking their career centers why that isn't offered.
Okay. What offered?
Sure. Intentional 101.
What is it?
I still think that a lightweight version of that you could do in a day would be pretty darn cool. I really do believe if we tried to boil it down, we could do something like a midterm rehab this semester that we do offer direct to students, which would be, a couple hours on the basics of what we talk about to help you get back on track if your semester's gone crazy.
I think that's all good, but I think the number one thing that I'm getting at this conversation that we mentioned earlier is it's a lifestyle change, and I think that it's difficult for us to boil it down.
It really is.
I mean, that's the problem, right? Like, yeah, I can give you these 5 tips, but if here's 5 ways to save your money, but you're a gambler, so
well,
like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know that's not really a good example, but I'm just trying to explain, like, you need to change your life in many ways.
Sure.
To make this work the best.
But there's a cross section of people that are following us that would love some nuts and bolts tactics too.
Well, sure, of course they would, but it's also not a magic 3-step system. Here's 5 ways to lose weight. Like, no, like that's not, you know what I mean?
Well, sure.
You're not going to be able to de-stress and make your semester run perfectly by doing these 3 things. Like, they're just little things along the way.
Right. But I still think you could do a thing that looked like, here's the 5 big changes. And if you focus on one every day for a week, you could finish the semester out and have grown some.
Okay. Reiterate that into something that's tangible.
Like what the steps would be?
Or how would you deliver them? Or
well, it could still be a course. It could be delivered very similar to how we did 101. We nailed down the 5 topics that were most valuable and led to the most action out of the feedback that people gave us from 101.
Okay.
Things like the time budget, things like blocking out.
So you're going to do another class?
Yeah, something like that. And maybe it's a class that's got some follow-up support community or something like that.
So
something that's
is it a class,
I don't know.
or is it something that a person could instead of looking at, because we've discussed this too, is audio is key in multitasking, and a lot of these people are, if it's midterms, they're midterming, they're cramming. So would it be a class, or would it be a TED talk where you're up there just sort of, I don't know. Do you need visuals for this, or is this something that we can use and
Do you,
convey just audio?
do you think an audio, I don't know if lecture is the right word, but let's just say like snippets of audio with examples that are just audio, like, okay, here's something you could do every morning to set your mind right, or here's something, you know what I mean? Is there something you could do that via audio that, I can just imagine when I was a student being like, all right, I have my 15-minute walk to class. Let me just listen to this 10-minute thing real fast. And maybe it could help reorganize whatever's going on.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if we have to get that specific today.
No.
Okay, well,
no.
Be more specific than you were being.
So you guys want to be at road level. I want to be at 50,000 feet. Let's have a 15,000 foot conversation and say something like a get your semester back on track could be an option. Something like,
well, that development needs to happen now.
What's that?
That development would need to occur. We would need to
now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point, right? I think what I'm trying to get at is I'm not trying to work the project tonight, but I'm trying to identify it.
That's what I was doing.
Mm-hmm. I think the first thing I think we need to identify is media.
Well,
how
because a completely different one than how to manage your time because your semester got away from you would be how to land a job before you graduate this semester. You are 3 months away from graduating. You don't have any job offers. Now what? We have the content for that from 101. People loved it.
Okay.
Completely different market, completely different subject matter, maybe completely different delivery, but.
Well, I definitely think there's enough people graduating,
right,
that would probably want to hear that. I mean.
And it could be a 1-2 punch there where you have a short topic on that followed by a short topic on what to do about student loans.
Or also,
or you're graduating and you're working on getting a job. Oh, you didn't get a job when you graduate. You're still looking. Oh, 6 months has gone by and you have to pay student loans. Talking about debt deferral, or just be prepared 6 months after you graduate. Things like that.
Yeah, and so there's a couple of these kind of subject areas that we could hit that if we put several weeks of dev work into, as long as we could figure out how to do the dev work along with the marketing so that people want it when it's ready, then you can have a thing. And if you want to make videos out of it in a live class or a workbook, there's a million of those options that we could do. And I don't think any of us have the information sitting in front of us to make that decision.
Okay.
So smirk all you like. But I think step one would probably be
I just was
research.
laughing about you saying dev work.
Okay.
It's just an interesting shortening. Poke.
I also teach a programming class, so.
Oh. Okay. Do they say that a lot?
Yeah.
In programming?
Yeah.
Oh. I didn't know. I'm on the outside. No, I think that's good. I think we need focus though, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So
we need short-term and long-term focus.
Right, and that's the thing. So I feel like the answer is, and that's the problem, right? The word I just said, I feel like. We don't have any data there. Mm-hmm. But it seems to me that a wise business plan that gets the most value to the most people, because that's really what I'm talking about here is
Mm-hmm.
let's help as many people as we possibly can.
Sure.
I think what that looks like is going after organizations, offering a product that they would be interested in that results in a subscription, some sort of a steady baseline. And if you're selling to individual students on top of that, that's like your icing, unpredictable part of the business.
Okay.
But it rests on this foundation of, a dozen community colleges that bought our product or something like that and offer it for their students as a help.
So what are we working on?
I think that if that's the direction we want to go,
Uh-huh.
then we need to be thinking about creating some intermediate products that would go straight to students
Okay.
that,
Well, we've already started transcribing 101.
right, yeah, that's turned into a big pain. It turns out that
It's
when I
like-
talk out loud, I don't use sentences.
I read some of that. I'm like,
Did you look at it?
yeah, I've read
Did
some
you?
of it. It's just like you can't just put punctuation.
I can't. It's not a matter of grammar. I'm literally rewriting everything.
Right.
It's not.
So here's what I want to talk about. Okay.
Anyway.
A concept that we're tossing a lot in that programming class right now is the idea of scaffolding. You want to start with something small and build on it and build on it and build on it.
Okay.
A book is like the middle in the scale,
Okay.
right? It's a thing that takes real commitment. You're reading it, you're trying to process a lot of information and get it together.
Editing it.
Right. And so I think what we have is at one end of the spectrum, the lowest commitment, lowest effort thing that we offer are the social posts we're already doing. Not this show, but like
Yeah.
the 3-minute rant in the morning, a blog post, an Instagram image with a little
Sure.
word behind it. That kind of stuff is super lightweight, affects your mindset, helps people start to see some strategies that would work, all that kind of stuff. That's super low end, zero commitment required from the user.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere a little farther along is something like this show, which requires a little bit more time and energy to sit down and consume and do something about, right? We have a couple of bullet points every time. We answer some specific questions. Now you're at the very, very far end, as far out as we're talking right now, are standalone. We don't have to be there for it to exist. We box it and we ship it metaphorically to an organization who can then multiply our efforts and hand this packet to 24 students who all benefit from it. And they go through something like 101 all the way down there. And I think that we have a lot of dots to connect in between. Maybe a short course, maybe a longer course. There's chunks.
Okay.
And I don't know how to identify what those are.
Clearly.
But
All right. We agreed that the podcast thing, we should keep doing that.
Yes, weekly.
I think it has the potential to be incredibly helpful because I know I learn a lot by example. So just having a conversation, on video, talking to people, answering questions, gets people thinking and saying, oh yeah, that's me too.
Building an audience too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we
But,
can agree that
that's key. If we could get some community feedback, I mean that would be massive.
Okay, so what else can we do to get the community growing other than this live video? So we've got the short snippets we already talked about, the video, the little rants, and
We're all sharing it to each of our timelines.
Yep.
I think that the issue we're facing there is there's no more talking that we need to do in original content. I think we need to be responding to other people's stuff that's out there. If you go to #college
fine.
right now,
Yeah.
you can look at nothing but people griping about the things that stress them out in
Sure.
college. If we're responding to that, every time I go in there and I I responded to a tweet the other day with just a GIF that I thought was funny and related, and that person instantly followed me.
Yeah, and
You know?
that's great, and we're doing that, and we'll keep doing that, and that's what we want to do. We're not adding new content. We want to answer people's questions. We want to get
Right.
to the heart of what their problems are,
Right.
and figure out how to help them with that.
Yep, I've
Okay.
attempted constructive conversations with people's comments on Facebook, regarding student loans and people griping about, the government's out to get you and all this stuff, and
Yeah.
trying to have conversations, and you do what you can, you point them, and
Right. What do you think a reasonable target there is? Because I don't think we have one right now. It's like, if somebody happens to say something and we happen to see it, we respond. Like, what if we spent more effort hunting for
Reaching out
that,
to people?
hunting for that conversation and joining it?
I mean, I think that would be good. I think that another issue is, and this is something, Justin, that we've been struggling with, is building an audience, but having something to share with them. Right?
but
So,
building that audience and having their input is, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but you can't force that. It has to be organic.
oh yeah, absolutely, understood,
So,
100%.
we can keep doing what you said. Find the conversation, respond to it, try and help as many people as we can to get it going, and try and encourage people to continue having the conversation.
I think we need to. I think we have to take it one step lower, because the page,
What do you mean?
our Intentional Academy's page is not barren. There are people that are there. There are people that you can go through. You can see people who have watched, who have read, who, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
The next step is to get them to engage. How do we get those people who are already in to start, you know what I'm saying, to start bringing in the conversation, to get them involved? Because once they start getting involved, they start telling people. Like I said, I was talking about it at work, and that's
Well, the most effective word of mouth is going to be when someone is helped. So, you know, I never do Yelp reviews. I don't go around saying,
we rely on it. So Stacy does Yelp review.
So here's the thing. I do too. I go on Yelp constantly to look for like places to go. So I was in Florida and I went to this restaurant and I was completely blown away. Pioneer's Pizza in Punta Gorda. Sharing that for everyone. If you haven't been, go immediately if you're in the area.
Pioneer's Pizza, that'll be $100.
I don't even want the $100. They were so cool, amazing customer service, and the food was amazing that I did a Yelp review. So what I'm saying is, when you have an unbelievably positive experience, you want to share it. And so what can we do, aside from finding these conversations and helping people, to provide them with this outrageously positive experience that they want to keep talking to people about and sharing?
I think we've had those times where we've helped people and people went, wow, that's great. I think,
how do we keep
yes, keep doing that, but somehow in some way, when you get that positive response, you're like, hey, is there any chance you could go and like our page or share it or something? I mean, at some point you got to just really just put yourself out there and it's like, look, is there any chance you could go here and just
we want to help more people?
Yeah, we want to help more people. Any chance you would just tell your story real quickly and say how we helped?
Do you have that content from people in where they're discussing ways that you've helped? Is that in there anywhere? All that content of stuff you've recorded, or is it just interesting material?
That's some of that too.
Well, I think that could be something. You know how you kind of splice these videos into clips on Instagram?
Sure.
Maybe,
you're saying,
maybe if we can share more positive examples of ways that we've helped people.
Or if you still have contact with those people, even say, hey, is there any chance you could share?
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah,
if
because
you're
that's
really
part of it
impacted,
too. Is
you share it.
every time you and I, our group here, the three of us, every time we like and share something, the same people that see everything we like and share
Sure.
see it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the network effect happens when those people start
Sure.
doing
Sure.
liking and sharing and things like that. And so yeah,
I don't know. You have more access to people that are having issues.
yeah,
You're in that world.
Yep.
So
and I'm constantly erring probably too far on the side of caution when it comes to conflict of interest there.
sure, that's understandable.
And I'd rather be there and grow slow than the opposite. And so, you know, there's a challenge there that I'm still navigating.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean I can't come home and tell the story.
Sure.
It's just hard to then turn around to a student who pays tuition and say, "Oh, would you mind sharing this thing?" You know.
No, I'm not saying. I get that. I get that.
I think that we're going to be. I think we'll be surprised if we actually just start having conversations. Imagine what would happen if the three of us changed our Twitter, Instagram, whichever of those you like to use, because those seem to be where the people we are after hang out. By the way, Facebook is hard to meet people on.
Yeah, no.
But Twitter and Instagram are pretty live. Imagine if the three of us all had a link to the Intentional Academy.
Okay.
And spent several hours a week having conversations. I don't know if there's a better version of outreach than that. Of, no, I'm not requesting that you like and share my thing. No, I'm not requesting that you come to me and watch my movie.
Sure.
I'm going to go to you. Oh, look, they're complaining about stress. Let's make a joke and then say, hey, you know, something that really helped me was such and such. And for every 10 people you do that to, one of them will probably really appreciate what you did. And maybe that gets reposted. Maybe they follow the link in your profile. And at the end of the day, it's also given, you know, we started this by saying, you know, what was the big lesson I learned? Just start.
Yeah.
The more conversations we have about this topic, the better we're going to be at actually having those conversations and helping people.
So I think that's great. I think it's a great place to go with having these conversations. Do you think that there's enough on the Intentional Academy right now that when they say, hey, that was really great advice real quick, let's see what else they have to tell me, that there's enough on there to keep them intrigued enough to join the community to start asking other questions?
No.
What can we do for them to go to the link and be like, oh man, they're talking about this, this, and this, and I have all those kinds of problems, and I'd love to learn more about whatever.
Mm-hmm. The word you just said, link, kind of takes me to another question of where are we website-wise? We had a discussion over Friendsgiving.
Yes.
And
yep, that seems to have
potential stuff, but
it seems to have stalled. Okay. And if somebody offers me a free gift and comes through on it, I'll take them up on it. But if somebody offers it and I have to pester them more than twice, I'm not going to keep going after that, because that just spells trouble in the future, right? I don't want to be pestering them later. You there, Justin?
I'm right here. Did
okay, cool.
What?
No, there was a glitch on our end. I just want to make sure we didn't fall out. So as of now, that's kind of stalled. I'm not pushing either way. If they reach back out, then we'll have a conversation again.
Because when you say drop a link, that's the question goes.
Which link? And I think we started on this conversation. I think that we need to start separating the personal brand from Intentional Academy. And so I think the fact that we own intentionalacademy.com is pretty great. And that needs to be built out quickly, but it doesn't have to have much there to do exactly what we're talking about. If intentionalacademy.com had, here's how to reach us, link to the Facebook page, link to all of our social accounts where the conversations are happening, a link to the YouTube channel, a thing that says Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Watch us live.
Sure.
That kind of stuff. And then in addition to that, we could add blog syndication.
Okay.
So I go right at tonyfarrar.com. That's
I
my
understand.
blog. That
You don't have
shows
to go
up
through it
there.
all, I understand.
But it gives you guys the opportunity to contribute to that too.
Sure.
And so all of that builds a better buzz. But I think that this could be a really simple page to start with. That just has mostly that information. Maybe, you know, everybody seems to have liked the text in that manifesto. That could show up. Right?
Well, that's just like a mantra. That's
But it's catchy.
Mhm.
You know?
But it's also what we believe. To the core. I mean,
which is really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's in your face.
So-
we don't pull no punches.
So if I had to say the summary so far, it's get that thing live with, even if it's bare bones content of what we're up to, get it on there. And then all of us puts a link there and starts having conversations.
Okay. Do you have intentionalacademy.com at all up
Yeah, we own it. There's nothing
No.
there. It's like the skeleton page.
via WordPress?
Yeah.
I'll work on that.
Okay. Done.
I will investigate.
Done.
Try and get it orchestrated.
So when it comes to social media, like my Twitter,
Uh-huh.
I don't actively participate in Twitter, at least with my current handle. I use it to basically keep up with other things that I'm interested in, just stay up to date.
Mhm.
So if I were to do that, I would want to create another account.
Okay.
Because, so that being said, is there some sort of, do we want to like
I'll create a
naming
new one
convention?
because I don't really.
Well, I'm just saying, naming convention wise, like, do we want to try to like, am I IA Justin and is that IA Nicole, or you know what I mean? Do we want to try to?
I think one of the core values that we're going to end up teaching people is to build their personal brand, and I think that that's the way to go. I think that it's Justin Thomas and I think it's Nicole Farrar, or the closest thing.
There's no way. I mean, I can't even get Justin Thomas in Fredericksburg. I got billed for somebody's escape game the other day because it's a Justin Thomas.
So we start, we start iterating on it until we find one that works. The Tony Farrar worked for me. That's why that's everywhere. You could be the Justin Thomas, and then it might work. You could be JLT. I don't know. Whatever you want your handle to be is cool, but I wouldn't make it some pseudonym, and I wouldn't put the words Intentional Academy on it because that limits that following to only Intentional Academy stuff.
Sure, but maybe you could put something on there that reflects your belief, like the word intention could still be on there or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know. My whole reason for being on there would be for the sole purpose of Intentional Academy. That's why I was like, why wouldn't I put, IA Justin and Intentional Academy Justin?
He's trying to keep them separate on
I
purpose.
understand. He wants it to be me and not, but
it has to be you, Justin Thomas, the professional.
Understand. But anything I do is going to be for Intentional Academy.
That's fine, but it's also, it'll evolve more than you think it will, and it would serve as a model that we can point people at. That's kind of the point.
Yeah, I understand.
What we want to do is use it as an opportunity to teach people how to use these things professionally.
Sure. But it can also branch. Like for me, my contributing factor later on down the road doesn't have to necessarily be a professional. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that's the beauty of it.
I want to help people too. I mean, right now we're focusing on students and professionals, but 10, 20 years from now.
Which I had some ideas of another market, and I don't know if we want to discuss that right now or not. But
anyway, I wanted to reach other people too with, with the budgeting thing and the food and like living intentionally, not just
and that's
prepping for your life. Like
and that's
what happens
the reason,
after the fact.
That's the reason why I'm a big fan of the personal brand thing, because it gives you the flexibility to do all
That's what I'm talking about. Then my blog is going to be about
and
afterwards.
Justin,
You know?
I think that the bottom line is you're actually going to make your big money as esports take off and you figure out how to be a
Oh my!
commentator.
If you only understood the ideas I've had, but there's
Yeah.
the amount of money that would be required to do a lot of it. Like, oh my god.
Justin, what's the other market you were thinking of? Just curious.
Well, so we focus on people who are kind of already inundated and looking for a fix, but we haven't really thought about the people that haven't entered that arena yet that could be prepared better so they don't get overwhelmed. And I
High
was
schoolers?
yes, but I was like in general, I was actively involved with my high school church youth group.
Mm,
And that is a potential for community service that could help us hone a
yes.
sellable object. In the same time, we could be helping people prepare instead of being overwhelmed
Love
and
that.
bombarded in the first place.
Yeah. You got me thinking about two things with that. One is things like high school youth groups and high school market in general.
Sure.
But the second would be community colleges, which is prepping people who are getting ready to transfer in. A lot of people who go to community colleges are transferring in to 4-year.
Or
I'd say
they might be transforming their lives because community colleges,
yeah,
they also have
yeah,
people that have been in the professional
yep.
field.
But I'd say maybe a third of the students that I work with transferred from community college. And so that would be another place that you could do the same kind of idea where you're saying, I love that. I love it.
That's another really good market, though, especially if you're talking about high school. I know a couple of people who tutor.
Well, that, and then I mean, in high school, we're parents now, so I know there's ways of getting involved with the PTA, and then parents catch wind of, hey, these people got some good ideas. You should go sit down and listen to what they have to say. It might help you.
All of which comes back to, I think, the personal brand thing of getting good at talking about this stuff, which is great. Continuing this live show.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be key. And then...
Sorry.
I know we're at 1 hour and 2 minutes, so.
Yeah. So we'll wrap up soon. We don't have much more to get through, really. I think what we just did was we laid out a spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's an end goal of selling to a number of organizations. We can start to shop around and find the lowest barrier to entry there.
Okay.
Right. But to answer your question, what's the project?
Exactly. What do we want to package and how do we want to package it?
And maybe the answer is that we need to go do some market research, but we're going to do some flavor of a short course, not the full 7-week thing again.
Okay.
But candidates could include midterm rehab, time management thing. We could do one for money. We could do one for career hunt.
Shut it all down right now and say, just do the one about people graduating. We're in the spring semester. People are graduating. Let's go with that one. Graduating and getting a job.
Is that how we want to do this?
I think spitballing 8 different things is a really poor decision. I
don't know how much I want to leverage Tony being a professor, but he does have a specific market of people that he could almost just, hey, sort of get an idea of what they think might be beneficial. I don't know if you just were talking to a grad student or something like that. What do you think would be beneficial when you were back in undergrad, or you know what I mean? And I don't want to do that because it's not really.
I don't think we need feedback right now. I think we need a direction.
Well, I'm saying help get a sense of what kind of information would be good and when to give that. You know what I mean? Like you were talking about midterm rehab. What kind of information would you think would have benefited, when you were struggling? Are you looking for time management? Are you looking for study skills? Or are you looking for
the graduating, finding a job thing? I just think you need to pick one and we need to work on it and go forward. Because I don't believe the 4 different things you said are going to be feasible.
All right.
to do all of them.
So let's do this. We have 3 core topics:
Okay.
time management, personal finance, career development.
Okay.
Those were the things that were reflected in 101.
Okay.
We got some pretty detailed feedback that we've still not really processed
Okay.
from people who took 101.
Okay.
Let's go through that and see if it points at one of those 3 categories as being the most compelling
Okay.
based on the content we already have.
Sounds good.
That
I like
works.
How do we do that?
Where's the content?
It's stored in some Google Sheets, and one is a audio interview that I recorded.
So
Yeah. Access to it.
audio, audio
much-
interview offline and Google Sheets without people's names. Metric wise,
Okay.
can we work on that live somehow, or
Yeah, it'd be cool to just sit down and have a conversation. Why don't we do this? With the exception of the audio one, it's all text based.
Mhm.
I will get you all access to it,
Okay.
and from that we can all read it offline individually, and then we can have a meeting and compare notes.
Okay.
What do you think of that?
what kind of messages? What we felt was the main point.
And now the problem that I run into when I start reading teaching evaluations is I think of everything that needs fixed. I want to be really focused here, not so much on what needs fixing or any of that, but of these 3 things, which one do we already offer the most compelling content
What
for?
got the best feedback? What did people
Okay.
think was the most beneficial?
Right. And then we can ask the question one layer deeper of how many people are like the one that felt that it was that compelling? Was this person from a very limited demographic, or was it just kind of, Joe College, and
Gotcha.
we could
How
reach
old
a
are
lot?
they, etc. Okay.
So, add one layer of detail there, but let's make a goal that we do that. What do you say? Next week?
Have another for next week's meeting.
Yeah.
No, I think next week we should have a regular Tuesday show.
I do too.
So this would have to be in addition.
That's fine.
I'm okay with that. I think Sunday. I think Sunday is probably the best. I don't know how that works
Sunday.
for you guys.
Sunday.
Do I know?
Sunday the 14th.
Is that? Yeah, that looks like the next.
Martin Luther King Day is on Monday.
We're off work. And
Technically,
it's
I
open.
might be scrambling to launch my classes.
Yeah, so
Let's do Sunday.
Sunday night.
I'm happy with it if you are.
Yeah, I can do Sunday. Yeah.
All right. Post bedtime, we'll just do another one of these live conversations. We'll stream it. It'll be a after action on having read the other stuff. What do you want to do about the one audio one? Because it was super valuable information.
Well, you just take notes.
So I'll just distribute it, and we'll all take the turn to listen to it.
How long is it?
Like 45 minutes.
Oh, jeez.
Is there a way for us to listen? We can listen to it before we hit record or stream.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Listen to it, and you mean
I'm saying
like
we could be in the. Did you want to try to have a call and listen to it before we hit stream together?
Yes, we're going to read and listen before we have a meeting about it.
I think we should do all of it offline so we can all just listen individually.
Okay, not
get what we
when we're together in
right.
Correct.
That's all right. That's what I was gonna.
I don't know how much information there is. Do you think it's more feasible if we split it up? Do you want all of us to read all of it?
I think
Because I think that we're both.
I think we can. I think I could read it all without too much. I mean,
I want to read all.
I don't know how much there is.
I want to read all of it. I'm going to read all of it.
I'm gonna read all of it.
That's fine. I
It's
just
just a
didn't know how much
And
it was.
all right, so I'll get the audio distributed too. We'll just all listen to it.
Okay.
And hopefully it goes well.
Okay.
And so we'll do that Sunday. Next week is the first week of class, Tuesday night. We'll do a live stream, and we'll go back to the regular format.
Sounds good.
Do we want to think about any kind of a topical outline, or just continue what we've been doing, which is trolling for good questions?
You usually, I think our last shows have basically we've started the conversation with the topic that you introduced in your morning video.
Yep.
That's usually because that content's fresh in your head, and
I
the
don't think we
ideas
need.
that you had when yeah.
All right. Well, we'll just keep that system the way it's going then. Could we do one more thing then? As we're going to continue streaming these meetings, Justin, could you make literally the screen that you're streaming right now, but instead of calling it Intentional Academy Live, change it to, I don't know, team meeting or something like that? Maybe change the background color just so people see it as something different than the normal live show.
You talking about on Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Like-
can literally just make it a different scene.
Yeah, just I like everything about it pretty much. Like change it to Intentional Academy team meeting or something like that, and a different color in the background so it doesn't look like the live show.
Yeah.
And that way, if people see it, it looks like something different.
Okay.
I vote for a hint of orange.
Nice.
With a side of maroon.
Yes,
Wasn't this one or is this red?
it's red. Speaking of, I'm horrible. I wasn't paying attention. I'm pretty sure I fell asleep. Who won the championship?
We don't want to talk about it.
So Alabama.
Yeah, meh. I stayed up till midnight, and then Alabama was driving. I was sure they was going to kick the field goal to win it. When I woke up this morning, I saw that Alabama won overtime. I was like, "What?" So their field goal kicker missed 2 kicks in that game.
It went to
Wow.
overtime.
So, and Nick Saban is, I don't know if he's just freaking
Uh-oh.
crazy or a genius, because he literally takes the quarterback that took him to the national championship last year and at halftime pulls him and puts in a true freshman that has literally only played in mop-up time in this season. That true freshman came in, threw for almost 200 yards and 3 touchdowns.
So since I don't know what it means,
That's crazy.
Nick Saban is the coach of Alabama.
okay.
So I don't know
Isn't
if
Georgia quarterback a freshman though? A true freshman?
yes. But
Jake something
Jake Fromm, yes, but
from?
he was put into play in like the second game when they lost their starting quarterback to injury. So he's had all season to play. This kid has literally only played in mop-up time for Alabama.
Wow.
True freshman. Out of Hawaii.
Huh.
And he comes in and
Wow.
throws for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, it was incredible. Like it's hard to fathom. I just like, is he crazy or is he a genius? I just don't know.
Man, I feel bad for Georgia because I was pretty impressed with their quarterback in the previous game.
Well, Shane Beamer, special teams coach and tight ends coach for Georgia.
Huh.
And his father was inducted to the College Football Hall of Fame, was at the coin toss.
Darn right it was.
So rails completely off.
You did it. You started.
I did. It was
talking about. I mean, there's a hockey game on in my peripheral vision right now. Go Caps.
Don't multitask me.
Oh, I expect it with Justin. He's got 6 different screens and they're all playing different sports.
Let me promote
I'm sure
a
women
charity.
cross
Let's promote a charity
maybe
real
the
quick.
corner.
Let's promote
You
a charity.
can't show.
I'm not gonna show anything. I just want to say that twitch.tv/gamesdonequick is live right now, and they'll be live until Sunday, I want to say. 24/7 speedrunning video games, literally breaking the games of your childhood, watching people literally just break these games to where they're just it's ridiculous. And it's for the Prevent Cancer Foundation.
Seems like they beat Mario in 30 seconds.
No. People, yeah, like we're talking about games where it takes people 8 hours to play, and they're beating them in like an hour and 20 minutes, and they're doing all these like wall hacks and glitches and out of bounds, and like they're just literally taking these games and just
That doesn't count.
no, it does. It's incredible. But there's other categories. There's some categories where they have to do 100%, where they literally have to get every collectible, and they're just doing it incredibly fast. Like it's
Ocarina of Time like that.
oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a real good one. Watching them manipulating RNG. Tony,
It was.
these people can manipulate RNG in a video game. So
That's crazy.
it's
I just got a flashback to
Just turn it
Justin sitting on the couch watching you play Zelda.
hey, that was
Good times.
I was the puzzle master. He was the person that actually.
Justin, You are the official first audience member of Twitch before it existed.
Hey, we got a Switch. I did get a
Just
Switch for Christmas.
in the corner with his cane. I've been watching people play video games.
Get off my lawn.
That's before you were born.
If only we'd have thought to record that stuff. That and our remote control battles could have gone viral.
man. But yeah, that twitch.tv/GamesDoneQuick. They do it biannually. So this one is for the Prevent Cancer Foundation, and then the one in, I want to say it's July or August, is Doctors Without Borders.
That's cool.
And then the last one, they raised over $2.2 million in a week.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty big. It's pretty big.
So if anybody's still watching, thank
No.
you.
Nobody is still watching.
Thanks for tuning in. One of the main reasons that we stream all of this is because in many ways we don't know what we're doing, and we're documenting.
In many, many ways.
This is what it looks like to start this business. And 10
Mhm.
years from now, when this thing is doing really interesting and important things, you can come back and watch this and realize that it wasn't some magical genius who knew what they were doing the first time they tried something and everything they touch turns to gold, because that's not how the real world works. And so I don't know where we're headed yet.
It's
I like to
also
talk about spectrums. Nicole wants to know what we're doing tomorrow.
Mhm.
And,
And I like to take this as a way for us to hang out with, even though we live so far apart.
it's true too. Not going to complain about that.
Got a sneak peek on what our marriage is like.
So
Tony's way up
thanks
in the clouds.
always.
Well, you guys are sitting there talking to me. I heard my wife go to bed. So
Oh yeah, it's 9:30. I can't believe Stacey was even up.
oh no, that was 15 minutes ago. 15, 20 minutes ago. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Bye, Van Club.
All right.
Hey,
Well,
thanks. I
miss
moved
you,
to
Justin.
stop streaming, and then we can say our goodbyes.
yes. So good night, everybody. We'll see you on Sunday for another planning meeting.
Sounds good.